Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kure Isagami, your resident tinker and Medarotter, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you a special coverage, basically on the floor, on the scene, with the hottest news that basically dropped within days. And boy, oh boy, has been the server absolutely buzzing with everything that's been going on around this. So I want to take a minute while everyone's just coming in here and kind of looking over everything. How has everybody been doing this afternoon? About 2 o'clock now, a little bit later than I intended to start, but had some last minute stuff to work on before I hopped online. So good to see everybody here so far. Honestly, it's super exciting to see this news, especially given that it is the first time that Imagineer has actually used the name of Medabots in something since, much like I was looking in the chat here, since actually 2003. Titanic, you are correct, with Medabot Brave, Medabot Infinity. That was the last thing that was released here globally under the name Medabots. So it's definitely been a very hot minute since we've seen that name, and it is so nice to see it again. Honestly, something that I was freaking out over the whole time when I saw this trailer drop was the fact that, for those that are in the loop with the lawsuit and the tail end of that, that only just ended. Like, within a couple weeks before Medarot Day, did Imagineer actually announce that the whole thing was over. So, to me anyway, the way I was looking at this was, they'd had this planned for a while, and they literally had their hand on the trigger ready to pull it, and they were just waiting for the lawsuit to officially finally have it to the end, have the hammer drop and all the dust settle. So they were ready to go about this. You can't just tell a dev studio, okay, translate this in English and release it. You can't do that. It takes time. So they've been working on this a while, and that's what's actually made me fairly excited when I was looking over everything and double checking and analyzing it all again. I was really, really excited when I saw all that. But as we're kind of waiting on people to kind of hop in here and look around and get settled, it is so nice to see everybody. So basically what this stream is going to be is not exactly a where's it been, a really big discussion kind of thing. Mostly what I want to do is kind of offer a little bit of an overview essentially to Medabots Survivor, having played the JP game ever since the JP version dropped last year, and I actually played that. I was like one of the first day one players to do it. And only recently I got my JP account back after like 3 or 4 months of not playing because LD player borked me trying to sign back in when I got everything set up on my new PC. So I'm so glad I got that back. But that's a discussion for another time. But no, as one of the early year one players, and especially been reporting on it for as long as I have, this is basically going to be more of an overview, just kind of talking about what the premise of the game is, some of the notable characters, and I also want to take some time to talk about the new models that were introduced, not exclusively, but primarily using Meta Survivor as the debut ground, essentially, to kind of show them off and showcase some brand new models. Some of them eventually made it back into Meta S, but the names of the artists that went behind them are honestly some of the really big tying points with a lot of those artists in general. So, like I said, this is going to be more of an overview, more than a it's so great to be back. But however, I do have closer to the end of stream an AMA I'm going to set up. I have everything put together. That's kind of what took so long. And what I'm going to ask as we're going through this is, if you guys want to go ahead and put your questions in the chat, you guys are more than welcome to. I'm going to kind of take some time to scroll through that and follow and catch up behind it. But if you guys could do me a favor and hold on to those, write them down on a note document, on a Word, on wherever else. Hold on to those questions until the very end of the stream of the discussion, so we can kind of talk about them. Because what I want to do is, after I showcase everything, I want to be able to kind of open the floor to y'all to talk about, any questions you might have, like what is Meta Survivor about, what to expect from it. Medabots Future basically is what I'm gonna devote the tail end of the stream to. So if you guys could kind of hold on to those questions till the very end, and then you can swamp the chat with them all you want, because I will be writing all those down and kind of going over them all basically. But that's my personal request. You guys can do that in there all you need. But yes, that essentially my big spiel to kind of preamble what the discussion is on here. So just kind of following along here with the chat, catching up with that pre-registered screaming when I saw the tweet. Oh yeah, no kidding, all of us were. Like, when I first got the announcement and someone tagged me and said, hey, putting that everyone up in the Discord, I'm like, wait, what for? And then I noticed that the tweet was in English. I'm like, wait, hold on a second, what is this? So, no, needless to say, everybody was freaking out. It was the collective call of Paul Revere that we have been waiting for 4 years. 4 years. Actually, a couple decades now, even. We've been waiting for it for a while, so we were all collectively losing our marbles at it. I was so excited when I saw that. Pre-registered, also, I did that day one. I had to sign back into my actual Google account on LE Player to do that, so I can set up for the pre-register. Short answer to that, by the way, is a tangent. Yes, I will be streaming the English release of Medabots Survivors when it comes out. I will absolutely be doing that. I'm gonna save my JP account for one I can play with me personally on the go, since I have so much time invested into that one. But the English version that's releasing here pretty soon, that one is gonna be stream only. So that's the one I'm gonna hang out with y'all, and you guys are gonna watch and play with me in chat and do whatever as I choose to set it up. Let me see here. Bring the Survivors does well. Films want to release a mainline title. Yes, basically. Lots of discussion on that as well, saying that we theorized they were going to release Survivors first, as kind of a testing the waters again kind of thing, before they actually invest anything really heavily in another mainline or even localizing Meta S, which a lot of people have been talking about, but honestly, we will have to see. But with that being said, though, let's go ahead and jump right into the meat and potatoes of the discussion here with everything that I put together here within about a day or so to get everything ready. So, first question is, when is the game launching? February 28th, 2026. So we only have about 2 months to go, 2.5 months. So not too terribly long of a wait. The pre-registration opened the same day the tweet went up on the official Medabots Survivor channel. So if you guys have not pre-registered yet, you guys have plenty of time to go do so. I highly expect that there will be pre-registration milestones and rewards for that. Probably more information on that to come closer to release. But no, you can officially pre-register for it now. You can go sign it up and put it on the wish list, ready to go for your account. And the best part, you don't need a Japanese Google account to do it. So you don't need to go through the whole, I need a VPN, I need to make an alternative JP account. You guys don't have to do that anymore with this one. It is officially available globally in select regions, but propagating around. It is officially available to pre-register right now on most regional Play stores. So no more VPNs needed if you guys want to play Medabots Survivor. That is the best part. So no backdoors, no secondary accounts needed. You guys can sign in as necessary and do what you need. It is right there. So I'm really excited for that. Honestly, it felt really weird not having to do that and having to sign back in on on my main account just to go find it, because I've been so used to the Japanese name Medarot for so long that it felt really surreal seeing it as Medabots. I'm like, man, this is something I didn't think I'd ever see again. So, no, honestly, it was really, really excited. I was really excited when I saw that, especially given, like I said, how close it was since Imagineer announced with the end of the courts with the lawsuit, and they only had just got the name back. So, like I said, it's very obvious they've been planning this for a while, and most likely just waiting for the courts to officially drop the hammer and end the suit. But, let me see here. Amount of work for the Switch collection, since only legacy games were localized, was Core M2. I would say that honestly kind of depends, Gouda Onion, because, yeah, it would take a lot of time to go back and translate all that, but given that it is all going to be on a singular engine, I think it might be a little easier if they're willing to put the time and effort into investing into that. So it's definitely not outside the scope of possibilities now that it's been shown that they are officially considering a global expansion, or a Western expansion, as producer-san put it. So honestly, all I can say at this point is only time will really tell what the plan is down the pike. But we're gonna save that discussion a little farther down the stream when I have you guys kind of swamp me with all your questions in the chat, and we can go over them all with a little AMA I have put together. So really, really excited for that. Just kind of hold on to all those questions till the very end. But basically, for a lot of folks that are out of the loop, Medabots Survivor, as you guys saw with the trailer, essentially is just a Vampire Survivors HoloCure clone. So if you played any Survivors game, it's not really going to be anything new. You can kind of pick this up and play it with very little with very little understanding and learning required, because they're fairly easy games to understand. But there is a handful of things that they did point out over the course of the roughly year now that Meta Survivor has been out on the JP side. So basically, I want to give you guys an overview as to the more specific mechanics to Survivor and some of the main characters you will meet. So the first of which is to meet the cast officially. We are introduced to a brand new character that was introduced in Meta Survivor and slowly made her way over to Meta S, named Susanoo. Now, to explain here, I did kind of crunch a little bit of the explanation over as to who Susanoo is, but to explain it briefly and read what her description was in her bio when Meta Survivor first announced. She is a self-proclaimed genius with an insane love for Medabots. Formerly a researcher, she left the lab to pursue a private studies with her partner Jasper. Despite her vast knowledge of Medabots, her practice of row battle is terrible. Basically, she's the computer nerd that knows everything there is to know about Medabots. Forward, backward, inside out, upside down, and right side up. But the moment you challenge her to a fight, you are going to curb stomp her. So, more along the case of, I have the knowledge, but I do not have the execution, unfortunately. So she is the computer nerd of the series that's going to reintroduce us back into Medabots here globally and officially guide us through our journey as we play Meta Survivor. Her partner, named Jasper, is a reliable Medabot that serves as Susanoo's partner. He is serious, intelligent, and dependable. He supports Susanoo's studies from behind the scenes. He's designed with a working dog motive, which means that, like Susanoo, he emphasizes practicality and lacks practice in row battles. So, much like with Susanoo, Jasper unfortunately does not have a lot of experience, nor likely does he have yield any interest in row battling in the practice either, focusing more on the knowledge and the research aspect of it. So, something to... let me see here. So the Kabuto and Kuwagata models are technically not official. I'm not sure if that was officially noted in the series, but given that Susanoo did actually work in a lab before pursuing private studies, I do like to assume that they're either prototypes that she's given to you personally, or she's working on trying to get them serialized and you just got the first pick. But basically, yes, worth noting here on the side notes I put on the side, Susanoo is the creator of Alpha Soma and Bularis Mandi, which are the new beetle prototypes that mascots for Meta Survivor, KBT and KWG-17, if you are keeping up with the numbers. Having built both of them in a private lab during her free time. So, I tried to find it, I wanted to put together for the slide, but basically think of the old Obadiah meme from the original Iron Man. She built these with a box of scraps in a garage. No, she absolutely did. That is 100% what she did. She basically built 2 brand new beetle types from the ground up herself, and over the course of Meta Survivor, lets you practice with them, gives you one to kind of pursue through the game with and experiment with and help her with her research. Jasper, it was also mentioned, works part-time to support and fund Susanoo's private research. My biggest question when I found that out is just what kind of job is he running? Because if he's making that kind of money working part-time to help Susanoo, I might need an ear to the ground and figure out what that is, because clearly he's found the best possible part-time job there is to fund that kind of research, especially with what Susanoo is bringing to the table with brand new models. So very, very exciting. So the premise essentially to Meta Survivor is Susanoo basically enlists you to assist her with her private research in developing Medarots and special kinds of row battles designed basically to simulate endless hordes of enemies. So more or less kind of emulating and propagating the whole Vampire Survivor engine story-wise. Basically, she's going to give you a model or a set of models in a team, and she's going to throw a whole horde of drone Medarots after you to see how long you can last, and use that research to develop newer, stronger, better developments or new models later down the line. You're basically her research assistant. High-speed delivery service. Yeah, basically. That has to be what Jasper's doing at that point, especially since he has such a high mind for practicality and efficiency. But, yeah, essentially the story behind Meta Survivor is not really substantial. It's not going to be like a Medarot 10 or like any other previous games we had so far. It's a very simple game. Susanoo enlists you to help her with her private study and research with Medarot, and she will essentially kind of help take what she learns from you through your gameplay and develop new models down the line. Or she will introduce models outside of her testing simulation, which is called Orbis, if I recall. And it's an acronym. I did not get what the acronym stands for, but it is an acronym for her enclosed research bubble, and kind of give you some comments on what to expect from this new model coming in. A lot of those models include popular boss types or new boss types that were introduced in S. God Emperor and Beastmaster, two really good examples of boss types she introduces later, basically just to kind of test your limits and really put her simulation to the test. But like I said, that's basically the story behind the premise behind the game. So not really a lot to learn or pick up on, not really a lot of big lore drops to keep in mind, or no lore to hunt for, unfortunately. But the nice thing about the game is that because it does follow the Survivors type of game engine mechanics, it is something that's very easy to pick up and put down. It does not require a lot of investment to either learn how to play or get into playing really high tier. You can pick it up and put it down just as easily. You cannot touch it for a week and then pick it up and basically go right where you left off. Do I think they will follow the localization for the 2000s? Honestly, I don't know. One comment that was put in the Discord about it was that Nelvana, which was in charge of the localization for the anime back in the day, back in the early thousands, they were in charge of the localization. So I'm going to err on the side of no, but only on the grounds that Imagineer is most likely doing the translation in-house. So they have more they have more freedom and liberty over what they want to do with the translation of names. And given that they kept Alpha Soma and Blularis Mondi's names the same as well as the newcomers, I'm going to continue to err on the side they're probably not going to, and they're just going to keep their original JP names just translated. But again, it's hard telling at this point without actually seeing more gameplay and more information, and them actually giving us more to work with. But essentially, kind of moving along here with some other stuff to expect. Much like any other Survivors type game, there are a level of items that you can collect, or power-ups, and basically each power-up does give you an extra passive you can hold on to. So again, nothing really all that special as far as a Survivor type game is concerned, but just to kind of go over them all, because there are a handful of items here, and it is good to know what is what, as far as what the items do and how to use them. But essentially, the items here you see are overchargers, which are good for damage dealt. Your final damage will go up. Energy oil gives you a heal over time, which is usually going to be a very hot topic item whenever you're on a run, because every 5 seconds or so you get a little bit of HP back. So if you can't actually keep the horde off of you after you take a couple body blows, you can heal it back progressively over time. Solid shields, good for reducing damage taken either from projectiles or body blows. So the higher the defense, the less damage you take and the longer that you're able to last if you have to brute force your way through a horde. Black cards are good for coins earned. Mostly this is specifically for if you're finding yourself running low on funds to level stuff up. So mostly like any kind of coins that are dropped when you kill enemies or when you finish a run, the level of black card you have kind of increases the multiplier over how much each coin you pick up is worth. Mobile radiators are your attack cooldowns. Now, this one was a little more weird in the translation to it, so I'm just going to kind of explain it in more detail. The attack cooldown basically is the recharge time between you actually using an attack or a projectile and you fire off the next one. So the higher your attack cooldown value is, the less of a time break there is between your attack waves. So let's say, for instance, if you have a 2-second break between you attacking and then you getting a second attack in, the higher your attack cooldown, up to a stack of 5, the more likely it is you'll even get a 1 or even a half-second cooldown instead of a 2-second. Propulsion device, movement speed, that's pretty easy to explain. The more of these you collect, the faster you run across the ground, the easier it is to run around and dodge things. Bulletproof tiles, I was going to call this armor, kind of like Kevlar, but bulletproof tile was the proper translation. It just increases your max HP. So basically, the more this you have, up to a stack of 5, you can basically double your max HP in a run, which makes it a lot easier to last longer, especially if you are being overrun by a horde. Learning Disc is your EXP earned, so the more of these you stack, the more EXP you earn per crystal dropped, and you can level up faster to get more power-ups. Bullet Oil is your bullet speed, so essentially for every projectile that comes out, it's going to have a certain speed that it comes out and releases as you spawn it. The more of these you collect, the faster that they fire off. So for long range, specifically long range types like say Cyan Dog, Arc Beetle, Metabi, when you actually fire a projectile, the more of these you have, the faster the bullets become. And the faster those get, the more likely, the faster it will despawn and you can fire another one. Power tank is your projectile size. Basically, this applies to everything across the board, whether it be a melee or a shooting type, or even a trapper. The more of these you have, the bigger the projectile. It is very easy to tell. So if you have something that likes to circle you, like a tornado or a vortex, the more of these you have, the bigger that sucker. That's very, very simple. And then mini magnet is simply your absorption range. So the more of these you collect, the farther away that you can be from an item before you can pull it to you, which makes it very easy to collect a lot of stuff in runs, especially if you have to run around a horde without the risk of taking damage. So basically, these are all the items that you can find in Meta Survivor. Item effects can stack at 5 each, much like I said, so maximum level of 5, and stack with other items. So for instance, bullet speed and attack cooldown pair really nicely together. Bulletproof tiles and solid shield are really good for guaranteeing you take as little damage as possible and last the absolute longest. Also, something to mention, this part usually varies per Survivor game, but the big thing that sets Meta Survivor apart in this case is that there are certain models in the game that require you to have a specific item in your power-up pouch, your item pouch, in order to ascend it to its evolved weapon state once you hit that level 5. So essentially, say for instance, I'll use Goss Houdin, which is a tornado type. She requires the mini magnet in order to ascend. So even if you get Goss Houdin's power up to level 5, if you do not have the mini magnet on your item, in your run by the time you level up, you cannot reach her evolved skill state. So it's very easy to pick out what items do what, and it's fairly easy to figure out who needs what because it is very abundantly clear when you collect them what kind of item they need, and from there you can kind of strategize, what kind of models you want to bring with you and which ones share like Ascension items. But so far, like I said, it does follow the Survivor's equation and mathematical and operation fairly similarly, so like I said, it is going to be fairly easy to figure out who does what and what each item does when you actually go to play. But so far, just as I'm following along the chat here with everything, Gurkat says they could use AI to make the translation easier in-house as long as it's properly proofread. I can kind of see where you're coming from. I know the whole topic with AI is an extremely, it's an extremely hair-trigger reaction, unfortunately. But my whole take on it, I'm going to go on a tangent here for just a second. My whole take with the whole AI is if you are using it as a tool, specifically tool, T-O-O-L, to assist you in the rendering production output process, such as using it to clean, to proofread, to clarify something for the final product, that I think is okay. But if you are using it as an end-all final product with no outside assistance, such as a generative AI prompt for an art or a music or a text, that is where the problem lies, and that is something I absolutely am not okay with, and any artist worth their salt will tell you the exact same thing. It's not necessarily we feel that AI is terrible, but the fact that people are using it that way is what makes people not want to use it at all, and more or less, unfortunately, want to start witch hunts over it. So I can see where you're coming from with that. As a AI translation and a human editor proofreader lead, yes, exactly, 100%. So in the case of, actually, brief tangent, there's actually a couple of YouTube channels I followed for a while that actually did something similar to that. What they did was they actually wrote the script for their video themselves, but they had an AI voiceover. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of see it, but only on the grounds that they explained that they do not speak English. They do not speak it at all, or they're very bad at it. I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from with it, but as long as you admitted that up front, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem. But again, the key phrase here is if you use it as a tool, not a final result, not a final outcome. That's basically my whole take on it. So if anyone asks, there you go. Let me see. Cyberdown Arena says, just came to stream, what happened? Short answer, Medabots is coming back. We are going to officially see Medabots come back to the West after so many long years, and he's bringing some new friends with him. The game he's coming with, Medabots Survivor, isn't necessarily anything groundbreaking. If you played a Survivor-type game before, you kind of already have an idea on how to play. But he is bringing a lot of brand new friends and old friends with him along with him to celebrate his first grand return to the West in over 20 years. It was mentioned in the chat earlier, the last official game we had was back in 2003 with Medabots Infinity. or Medarot Brave based on which version you play. So it's been an extremely hot minute since we've seen our favorite Yellow Beetle Boy and things again. And now that the lawsuit has been officially settled, I was honestly shocked how quickly that they announced the global announcement for Meta Survivor so soon after they finally got the lawsuit settled. So I was super stoked to hear about that, and I'm really excited. A whole lot of people are. A number of commentary on it is kind of mixed because a lot of people are like, oh, it's a mobile game, or oh, it's a Survivor clone. I can understand where you guys are coming from. I get it. It's not a Medarot 10 like we wanted. It's not a brand new mainline title, but this is a start. That's my best way of taking it. It's a start where it's essentially testing the waters again to see just how well it does, and from there see if they want to see if they can pursue global expansion properly. There was a lawsuit. Yes, long story short, a trademark scammer hijacked the name Medabots, Medabots, as you see, in the EU. And when Medarot S came out in 2020, he took it to court and said, it's too similar to mine. And basically they found out he did everything in court wrong. He didn't tell Imagineer he was suing them. He basically didn't even show up to his own court case either. He lost initially, and every time that the appeal process came in over the last 5 years, he would wait until the last possible day to stall, to extend it and file an appeal. Well, the courts, as of mid-November, so roughly about this time last month, finally decided, we've had enough of your games, we're done, this lawsuit is not going anywhere further. Imagineer owns Medarot, and it owns Medabots. No ifs, ands, buts, period. That is the simple answer to it. And that is the extremely short version of the lawsuit. I've been on the ground talking about it the entire time over the course of the last 5 years, and boy oh boy, is it a story. It is a very long saga, but I'm so glad we can finally put it behind us, and that was basically one of the biggest reasons that we have not seen any sign of localization in the last 5 or so years, because they've been dealing with that and trying to get it taken care of. So I'm really excited about that, that we can finally be done with it and kind of leave the scammer in obscurity with what he tried to do. I think we're hoping Medabots Survivors does well enough to get Medarot 10 using Meta S models. Yes, absolutely. They already have the models in Medarot S, so I highly expect that when we do see a Medarot 10, they are going to use them. I, of course, doubt they're going to use the collaboration models, so I don't think we're going to be seeing those at all, but I think that was kind of a given. But that's just my take on it, after having reported on Meta S and now Meta Survivor for as long as I've been a content creator, actually. Hope we get a collection of every game. Yes, 100%. Like I said, I want to say Meta Survivor is them likely just testing the waters to see how it's received and just kind of how well it goes once it officially hits the market. But as we kind of proceed along here, moving forward, I want to introduce you guys to some of the new models that were introduced in Meta Survivor and the artists that were designed by them. Now, you already saw 2 of them already in the trailer with Shadow Armor and Koga Sancho, so I'm not going to take too much time on those. But to explain who they are specifically, Shadow Armor was designed by Keisuabi, and if you recognize the artist, definitely shout it out as well. Freak out, lose your marbles over it, because they've had some massive names weigh in to make official models for Imagineer and Medarot, and I'm so excited to see these officially hit the scene in the Western community as well. But Shadow Armor, designed by Keisuabi of the Fate series. Yes, you can make all your jokes now. Keisuabi basically got away with implementing the Berserker Knight Lancelot from Fate into Medarot 1-to-1. And it's been a long-standing joke ever since Shadow Armor was first even revealed. That is exactly what he did. The glowing red eye, the black-colored armor, the attack style that he has with his particular preferences. That is... That is exactly what Keisuabi did, and it was so nice. It's a really cool model, too. I really like the design with Shadow Armor, focusing more on pursuit and raw aggression more than stalwart defense like most other knights tend to be. So really nice to see that. And Koga Sanjo is a Chang'e type, which is a Chinese moon goddess type that was designed by Yoshizaki Mine, who is the author for Kemono Friends. So already got some massive dynamics here just between these two alone, with the artists and designs that we've seen so far. Did they give him floating legs? No, they gave him one better. They gave him a solid wheel, and when they released him in Medarot S, they gave him heavy arms, which is the it's actually still currently in Medarot S. It is the most cracked wheeled leg you can get in the game right now. If you have it, you don't even have to bother worrying about terrain compatibility because your stats coverage is going to completely far outweigh it. But no, it was very well put together. Heavy bulk, emphasizing on the heavy bulk and capitalizing on it with what he brings to the table. Koka Senjo, same case. Koka Senjo focuses more on trapping in Meta Survivor, so she's going to leave these big puddles of water down like these vortexes, and anything that gets trapped in them essentially takes damage as long as they get stuck in that little area. But again, she was designed by Yoshizaki Mine of Kimono Friends, and like I said, very, very unique dynamic just between these two alone, with Fate on one side and wholesome animal characters in another. So off to a very good start. These two models were in Meta Survivor at launch, so I am fully expecting that to be the case as well when the global version of Survivors comes out in February. But there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of brand new models that were introduced as well alongside them, and a lot of massive artists that joined them. Now, I tried to keep this in order, in the order they actually released and showed off the new models, but I'm about, I'd say about 95% confident in my answer that these are in order. So if they're not, or if I miss one, call me out on it and I'll correct myself. But yeah, these are in particular mostly in order that they released from the start of Meta Survivor about this time starting February of last year. But a couple other models that were introduced. PTR0 World Cup, designed by Sumito Uwata, best known for their work of Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, and RPT-0 Azuruler, designed by Naohiro Washio of Gundam IBO. So for those that are out of the way, that is Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. Hashmal, Gyujin Remake, the Barbados, those were all his works, and quite honestly, with Azuruler's design, you can absolutely tell that Washio worked on that model. You can see a lot of that inspiration in its design, in its final design, with the clawed feet, the claws in the hands. And World Cup has been a running joke in the community ever since it was first released, because in Medarot's 28 years, no one else has ever designed a personal hygiene / toilet type before. So yes, you can now make all the toilet jokes you want in Medarot because World Cup exists, and people have absolutely been doing that since. I'm not gonna judge him for it because the joke kind of writes itself, and honestly, he is a really good model to use if you collect him. But no, it's still very nice, very creative, and I like the level of detail that was put into both of these as well. All the models, obviously, but I like the detail that was put into both of these. At least they're creative, yes, absolutely. So I love the creativity that goes in these. I'm gonna make a minor comment on here as well. I really, really, really hope that they release the chibis and the little animations for them. I hope they release those somewhere, because if you guys remember shimijis, back in the day of the internet, the little Java files, or JavaScripts of a character that would like wander around on your screen, I would use these. If someone released these as shimijis for a computer desktop, I would use them. I absolutely would, no question about it. I would happily have like 8, 9, 10 of these just meandering around on my desktop when I'm not there. I would happily do it. Like, I don't even have to question it. I would. And any ones that they release, I'd install them all. Because the art style of the chibi is just so good. A lot of people said they don't like it. They don't really like the chibified art style, but no, I think it came out really, really nice. I love it. I eat this stuff up. And the more models I see in this style, with just the standing, with the idols that you see here, with their movement animations, I honestly love that level of detail. I'm just an absolute sucker for it. So I really hope that happens. If not, I'm sure somebody will pull them later to do so people can do that on their own. But listen, if any of you guys are good at ripping files like that and putting little shimijis together, listen, hook me up, reach out to me. I will happily talk about it and shout you out. I will do it because I'd like to see these, but I'm getting distracted. But yes, World Cup and Azuruler both were fairly early models in Meta Survivor. Something else to mention before I do continue is that they tended to release new models on a 2-week loop. So basically they would release them in pairs. Sometimes they would release a new model with a returning model from Meta S or an older model in the series. So usually like to stagger them and keep events spaced out, but it's going to be kind of hard telling how they're going to do that with the global version. But the next couple pairs that were released over time, GSS-0 Ghost Ship was designed by Kazutaka Miyatake, best known for Macross, and PCP-02 Barrage Fire was designed by Makoto Ishiwata, best known for Psycho Pass 1 and 2, also known for their contribution to Suisei no Gargantia, if anyone has seen that series before. So already so far, I can see a lot of the inspiration in the detail and with the design as well from the respective artists. Ghost Ship was honestly really cool with the floating specter kind of design that Miyatake took with it, and with Barrage Fire. Barrage Fire, honestly, I'll be real, when Barrage Fire came out, my first thought was, honestly, if people were going to the custom mix and match for Meta Snap and Survivor in Meta S, my first thought was Armored Core. That was my first actual thought when I saw Barrage Fire. But no, I could see the porcupine motif in it as well. But yeah, Ghost Ship designed by Macross. Again, these are some really big names that weighed in on these. So as a friendly reminder, these are official models now technically, and a handful of these have already been introduced in Meta S. So we have 3D files for them too. Really, really pretty models, by the way. But no, aesthetically, Ghost Ship was really nice. I did really like the kind of Wraith/Ghost siren effect that Miyatake went with it, so really, really excited that I saw that. Barrage Fire also really good for a lot of people that like things that go boom, which is kind of par for the course given that the Porcupine series did exist already with Warheadly, but I am getting ahead of myself. Moving along the side, we have PSG Macho Noir, who is designed by Shimizu Eiichi of the 2011 version of Ultraman. And we have MGN Morgan Roof, a Morgan Le Fay type, designed by Junya Ishigaki of Xenogears. So now we're getting to the really big names and the big IPs now that weighed in and created some of these. PSG obviously standing for Prison Guard with Macho Noir. And Shimizu Eiichi also did go into details explaining that this is a prison guard that guarantees anyone that is caught under her clutches is not able to escape, nor will have any opportunity to. So very brutal, very demanding, very domineering, essentially. And then Morgan Roof as a Fey type, Morgan Le Fay from Arthurian legends as well. Knights of Lancelot. I really like the Black Raven goddess with Fey type that was introduced in that one. Really, really liked how that one came out. We have a Crow robot. Actually, we have several. We have Crow Tengu from the first game that's been around for a hot minute. There's a couple in later games that came out. Let me see. Yata Crow, I think, came out in 8, which was designed off of the Yata Garasu, the three-legged crow in Japanese mythos. But no, it is really nice to see Morgan Roof. Both these characters have models in S now as well. So we already have working models for them as well. Macho Noir focused mostly on just attacking things in close range. Morgan Roof was just a lot of very high explosions and homing missiles, much like a lot of other gunpowder types. But moving right along here, we have BRD-0 Derupan, designed by B-Cub of Pop Team Epic. Now, like I said, when I said we're going all over the place for the art styles and the artists, I am not kidding. We have Pop Team Epic now that has officially weighed in and created a silly little bird design, which in-game actually drops Easter eggs that go boom like landmines. So, I'm not sure what was going through B-Cub's mind when they designed this one, but yeah, now we have another Duckbot to add, a really silly little fella designed by the author of Pop Team Epic. And then we also have an Athena type, ATN-0 Spatha Regina, designed by Chunichi Akutsu. Now, I put down several Gundam series for this one because it was too hard to apply. It was too hard to mention all the different series or even only one or two that they worked with specifically. But if memory serves, a good chunk of the ones that Junichi Akutsu worked on were things like Gundam Seed. I think Gundam Build Fighters and Build Fighters Tri was also in that mix. I think there was a couple of Astray frames that they were involved with, if I recall, without looking at all the details again. But we made a joke a while ago about Spatha Regina, saying we have a whole bunch of different, like Roman goddesses types, such as Artemis, which is obviously based on Artemis. We have Apollo. We actually have two versions of Artemis. We have one of Apollo. We got a couple of mixed here and there. but we never actually had an Athena type before. So we have that now. We can add to the roster. Now the big question to ask is where's Zeus? Because we've not actually seen a proper Zeus type in Medarot's 28 years. So really excited to see that if someone does actually come up with it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge for any contests that are ongoing or coming up. You got a great concept right there you could lock in for. And then along came Zeus. Yeah, basically, exactly. The moment it happens, that meme's coming up. I guarantee you that meme's coming up. Reminded of Exia with the big sword. I think that one. I think Exia probably was under Akutsu's rep sheet as well, but I will need to go back and double check it. Two ends of spectrum, small duck and mecha with giant sword. Yeah, basically. So, like I said, we have massive dynamics of all these people that have come in to weigh in and create all these new designs and weigh in. And like I said, and I will continue to mention this, these are all actual designs for Medarot now. Like, these aren't fan designs that are a one-time thing. We will be getting models for these. We have art for these models. They can use them in anything going forward. So I'm really, really excited to see these. Spatha, Regina, and Darupon do not have models yet, so I think this is kind of where it falls off, and Meta S has not caught up yet with making models for them, but only because they've kind of had their own roster and timetable of things to work on and things to release. But no, so far so good. So far we've had a lot of really big dynamics and a lot of really big names weigh in, but we're still not done. They still have plenty more big names that they've introduced over the months since Meta Survivor dropped. Moving right along, we have TNK Panzer Krieger, designed by Kimitoshi Yamane, who, like Mr. Akutsu, also worked on several Gundam series. I think they also worked on Seed and a couple build fighters as well. I will need to go back and check that again just to make sure, but the rap sheet for Kimitoshi Yamane is essentially about as long as Mr. Akutsu's. So lots of mobile suits and a lot of very high experience in mecha design. And then we have SWA Megalafaros, which is a optic-powered lighthouse type designed by Izumo Juki of Izumo Juki Industries. I could not find a lot of information on this one, and the only thing I could really surmise from the few links I could find was that Izumo Juki Industries is a robotics company in Japan. So much like a lot of the artists that do mecha design or concept design, this one actually has a robotics industry behind it, or a designer in the robotics industry that designed this one. Now, something to mention on Megalafaros as well is the fact we've actually had this model in-game for a while. It was actually in Survivor at launch, but it was only a enemy-only boss. It was an enemy-only NPC. And, oh boy, might I say, it's your first actual DPS and team building check when you actually get to that point in the game, because it likes to fill the screen with a lot of bullets. So, lesson learned. I'm going to give you guys your warning now with a lot of these, with a lot of the harder bosses when you get to that point. I hope you guys are good at Toho, because if you guys thought 1 versus 1,000 hordes that you could find, add a little bit of bullet hell Toho into that mix, and you're going to have a lot of fun. Kind of, maybe, I don't know. Take that how you will. But no, it's I was so stoked when I finally beat that boss, and then I finally got to the next one where I'm like, oh great, this one's worse. No, it's I had so much fun trying to figure that one out. It took me like 2 months to figure out how to beat that one before I actually had a team able to do it, because again, it fires optic lasers like nobody's business, and the hitbox on those lasers is so jank. I hope they fix that. I hope they fix that in the global version as like a QOL update. But no, Megarafaros is a menace. It is an absolute menace. Futuristic city almost. Yeah, basically. It was designed as a kind of like an optic-powered lighthouse, again, like I said. Pharos as well, translating into lighthouse. Panzer reminds me of a Zaku tank. Yes, also a really good example. I really liked the artillery aesthetic on Panzer Krieger as well, and again, kind of led me back to thinking of Armored Core when I saw Panzer Krieger initially. So really neat seeing those two that were announced and they officially hit in game. I actually was just doing my dailies in Meta Survivor early this morning before I got ready for stream, and they actually had Panzer Krieger as the weekly boss for the challenge mode, and oh boy, does that thing like firing bullets. So again, I hope you guys like bullet hell and you're ready for it, because they are bringing they're gonna be bringing a lot of bullet hell. Let me see. Touch control sounds miserable and dodging bullets. Actually, it's not super terrible. The way it works in game is wherever your thumb or finger is pressing on the screen, it's going to move your controller to that particular spot. So you don't have to lock it into a specific point, and the game is going to kind of keep track of where you want to move relative to wherever you tap on the screen. So I did really like that. I did like that as a QLL thing that was in there since launch. And the most recent model that was added in the last week or so was SHD Atsui Zote, designed by Kajima Hideto, who is known for the Rockman Zero manga specifically. So now you can make all the jokes you want that we now have a literal shogi type that was introduced into Meta Survivor, and will eventually make their way into Meta S, I'm fully assuming, going forward, when they officially catch up and work on bringing some of these Survivors models in. But no, surprisingly enough, we have not actually had a shogi type either in 28 years, so I thought that was another really unique take. And looking at when I went to go research the name, one of my Japanese friends actually mentioned very specifically that the author once did a manga for a character that was learning how to play shogi, but also focused on trying to learn Medarot Card Roll Battle, which is the trading card version, or at least a game version of the trading card game for Medarot when it came out. So their character was actually based very heavily, or at least here, Atsui Ziote was based very heavily on that character, which has the same kind of hairstyle. But listen, when the 3D model comes out and people can start pulling it in Meta S and have fun with Meta Snap, I guarantee you the Saiyan jokes are going to be coming out. I guarantee it. Much like you said, Albus, it is absolutely going to be a running joke for the longest time that they're going to bring a Super Saiyan to the field with Atsui Ziote when the 3D model comes out. But again, these are all the new models, new models, as in they've never been in any other game before, that were introduced in Meta Survivor, and most likely will be progressively released in the global version of Survivor on a synced timetable with the JP one as the two servers are maintained, or however they choose to release them. Honestly, I can't really say. But no, lots of really big artists that weighed in on these two, and that's what I was really, really excited about as I did my news research and I collected all my information. Just finding out who is in charge of all these designs was just as exciting as seeing the design itself. That people were able to weigh in and actually have some fun with. Ranging from Gundam designers to Pop Team Epic to Kimono Friends to Fate to Suiso no Gargantia to anything else alike, ranging from from experience in mecha to very little experience in mecha. It's honestly just really, really exciting, and I love seeing this. Interesting Survivor has essentially become a first release bed for a new model. Yes, exactly. They were using it to show off, and something to mention is that when Meta Survivor first released in Japan and they first announced it, Producer-san made it very abundantly clear that was Imagineer's plan with Survivor from the start. Is they were going to use it as a way to pull in a lot of famous artists from all over the place to design all these models and bring them into Survivor and eventually to other titles as they kind of have a chance to show them off and try them, have people experience the model and who designed it and really try them out. I'm really, really excited for that. But right now, those are all the new models that were released so far. Like I said, I am fully expecting that this coming Tuesday we will probably be seeing another one, since usually every 2 weeks or so they like to show off a new model. Now, something to mention is that these are also excluding all of the returnees, I'm going to call them, that were introduced in Meta S, in older games that they're rehashing. These are excluding all those. These are just the brand new models with the artists that were in charge of the brand new designs. So lots and lots and lots of really fun designs, huge artists, and I am all for it. And like I said, if you are able to pull those shibis and make little shimijis out of them, contact me, please. I will absolutely shout you guys out and have fun with that. I will do them. Medarot gets all the fun oldish collabs. Oh yes, in fact, they actually just started with the Shin Megami Tensei collab this week, through this week actually, which, fun fact, predates Pokemon by like 10 years if you count the chronology of the original Megami Tensei game. So a lot of older ones that they were neighbors with from the days of Comic Bomb Bomb, with a lot of anniversary games in the early thousands, lots of really big IPs, so really, really exciting, just all the big names that weighed in on it over the years. Wasn't there also Gurren Lagann and Godzilla? Yes, there was a Gurren Lagann. That was the collaboration before this one. that just ended. Godzilla going on, I mean, Big G turned 70 this year, so I'm more than certain Toho was probably extremely generous with people who wanted to collaborate with Godzilla and given some more stomping ground to make turf on. So really, really excited for that. It's honestly hard telling what exactly is down for in line down the pike for Medarot, Medabots, but that is actually where I'm going to see, and Getter, Robo Mazinger. Yes, that was also a really fun collab, especially the Go Nagai. I think the only model I missed out of that collab in both versions, in the original run and the rerun, was they included Devilman in that one, because it was a Go Nagai collab specifically, not just, you know, Mazinger or Getter Robo. But no, that's the only one I missed from that collab. But no, the OG Super Robots was also super great. But as I kind of move along here, I'm going to go ahead and open the AMA and flash that. There we go. So basically, what this is the AMA section. So all those questions I asked you guys to hold on to until the very end, this is going to be your chance to kind of really push for asking those questions. And these can be basically anything of the like. Any questions you had on Survivor, how it played, questions on Meta S, or just Medabots as a whole, question on the lawsuit, or just anything in general that we've covered with the overview. This is you guys a chance to kind of hit me with those questions. We can talk about them, have some discussion, and kind of bring to light, have some fun with it all. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to work on those real quick while I'm catching up and following, checking other links. And then I'll go back and start collecting all those questions. Let me see some things here. I'm checking things. Let's see, okay. Let's see. Oops, I forgot I had that up here. I can catch that up on here properly. So the first question that was asked here, what was the last mainline game for Medarot that was released in JP? So, last released mainline. Okay, so the answer for this one, the last mainline title specifically is going to be Medarot 9, and that was released in, I think Medarot 9 was 2015. So it's been about 10 years since we've seen a mainline title. Actually, no, it is 2015. I was right, because December 24th, Christmas Eve this year, is the 10th anniversary for Medarot 9. So I don't exactly know if they're going to celebrate that or mention anything on it, but that is the last mainline title that was released. I thought it was 2010. 2010 was the release of Medarot DS. That was the one that first revived the series and and picked it back up after like an 8 to 10 year hiatus. So both answers are correct, but Medarot 9 was the last, what was the last mainline title that was released. Let me see. Mostly to know if the mainline is still a thing or as the main font. A lot of people have been talking about Medarot 9 and wanting to see a new Medarot title. In fact, if you are part of the Discord, you will see me make comments every once in a while. Medarot 10, Meta X when. And we're still holding out for it. The hopium is there. We would love to see it. Let me comment on here real quick. 2015. And then from Medarot 9, about 3 months later, Medarot Girls Mission came out as a spin-off game that used the Medarot dual game engine. But what made Girls Mission different was the fact that they did like a visual novel style of approach instead of a RPG style, which is what kind of made it really unique. It was nice. I'd like to see GM translated to kind of see what the whole story was, aside from it is a tournament of a whole bunch of all-girls universities coming together for a row battle tournament, but that's essentially the extent of my knowledge on it. Let me see here as I'm there we go. See, next one here. Medarot 9, did Metabe and Rokusho force you into teamwork? Yes, that's the same game. Basically, when you first play as Tenma, you get your tutorial fight with Metabe or Rokusho, because they're trying to hunt down the Robodon that stole something, and because they kind of drew a crowd, they kind of pull you into it to pretend to be their handler, and they teach you the basics. and then you don't see them again until just a little bit later into chapter 2, roughly, of Medarot 9, where they become an antagonist that guard a door and warn you, don't come any closer or I will fight. Now, granted, you can farm them indefinitely for all the parts you want, but no, they essentially become antagonistic at that point because they're guarding something very specific behind a door. Let me see, 2010 3DS. What models from Survivors are missing in Medarot S? So, missing Survivors models in Meta S. So basically, the short answer to that one is basically all the models from Derupan and Spatha Regina in my little slideshow onward. So I'm not going to say they're like super behind, but they're about 8 to 10, probably closer to 10 or 11 models behind that they can release into Meta S either in pairs or in off weeks that there really isn't anything going on. With the ongoing Shin Megami Tensei Devi Kids collaboration, I don't think we're going to be seeing anybody from Survivor debut in S anytime soon, but we will have to see. I anticipate we're probably going to see a couple weeks of quietness in January once everything quiets down, because the tail end of January is going to be the 6th anniversary for Medarot S, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to be seeing another Kabukiwa type to continue the series, since this year we got Kaiser Arc and Luminous Titan instead, which I'm not complaining about. They're both great models, but it's hard telling. But no, we do have a handful of models in Meta Survivor that are still missing from Meta S, and more than likely they're just saving them for downtime weeks to kind of keep things going, to kind of keep things moving along. Let me see. Kabukiwa. So Kabukiwa is a hybrid beetle type. Kabuto, as in like for Metabi, Kuwagata, as in Stag Beetle for Rokusho. When Meta S first released, they showcased and revealed a brand new mascot for the series, which was named Cross Messiah, which is a hybrid beetle type, a Kabukiwa type, to stand as a new third mascot alongside Metabi and Rokusho. I highly expect if Survivor is going to sync up with the JP region, we're going to see Cross Messiah eventually. And when you see him, you'll know it. You will absolutely know for a fact he is a hybrid beetle type when he comes out. And I really like his design, honestly. It was really cool, as well as one of the first heterochromic, one of the first major heterochromic type models. But let me see here. Model there. S. I'll just put that as a few. Saving likely or down in weeks between events. Okay, let me catch up here. Still being working on stuff. Let me see. Rubies on Shin Getter, last mainline game. Okay, that's where I was. Models from Survivors are still missing. I just answered that. Wasn't Girls Mission the last game that wasn't mobile? Yes. No, actually, I take that back. No, it is not. If you exclude the Classics collections, which was the Classics that was on the 3DS and the Classics Plus that was released on the Switch, then yes, Girls Mission was the last spin-off that was released. But no, we did have those two Classics that were released first, that were released later, and Girls Mission was the last major quote-unquote thing that they released. Let me see. Hopefully Medarot S gets a global release. I'm hoping for it. I think it'd be really cool to see that it gets a global release. I'll put that on here. Medarot S global. I can actually spell correctly. Keyboard work with me. Honestly, I would like to see a global Medarot S come out, because I think it'd be great to show off a very familiar battle mechanic style that folks are familiar with. I think it'd just be really difficult to do, because Medarot S, like I said, has 6 years of content that they've been working towards and contributing with. So while I think the possibility of a global server, a global release is there, I think it's a bit much of an ask unless they've been working on it behind the scenes and not telling anybody. And from there, the question I think to ask is, where would they roll back to as far as a global is compared to compared to the global version? Like, are they going to include models that were behind just all at once, or are they going to slowly release them and kind of introduce them all at once for the global community? It's kind of hard to tell. And if you include all the collaborations that have been introduced over the last 6 years, it's also going to leave another big question of, are the collabs going to be included in the global version? So the short answer to me is it's possible, but I would not hold your breath. If they do it, great, but do not expect it on the silver platter. So, possible, but not... how would I put this? Possible, but not... I'll just leave it there. Possible, but not likely. Let me see here as I'm catching up. Ballsy move, they announced Medarot 10 in both JP and Western. I'd be 100% for that on... Well, actually, I don't know, because the Nintendo Switch is not region locked, but neither the 1 or the 2. So, theoretically, they could technically release it as one game for both regions as a global release. And even if they only announced a JP version of Medarot 10, you still theoretically could play it on your US console if you did buy one. So I don't think that'd be too much of a problem, even if they keep that JP only for a while. Let me see here. Are the Robos present in Survivors? No, they are not. Currently, there are no Robodons that were introduced in Meta Survivor story yet. The only source of conflict, I guess I can call it, is when certain milestone bosses come up as you progress through the game, and Susanoo realizes that somebody outside of her simulation lab, out of her lab, is hacking and modifying the data of certain models to be stronger or more aggressive. But it's not been specifically mentioned yet who is, or revealed who is, so if it is a Robodon, it has not officially been mentioned yet specifically. You meet characters in Medarot Girls Mission in 7 or 6... Okay, yeah, that. I think they actually probably brought them around, and that was actually reverse, where they actually may have brought them in as side characters for Girls Mission, but if not that, I think it was a standalone spinoff, because it was a completely new cast of female characters. It had a manga that went with it to a point with the art book, but no one's had a chance to pick that up or look at it in order to translate it, so I can't give you any further context on that one. Let me see. Do I think Medarot Classics Plus for Switch could be localized? Localized. Classics Plus. Honestly, I think it'd be a really good idea. Because here, the fan translations, we only have 1, 3, R, and a piece of 9. And 9 isn't... R and 9 weren't even done through us. And 4 is still extremely early on. But I think if they were to release a global version of the Classics collection, I think that'd be a really good place to start, especially since classic retro games are especially the it thing with a lot of streamers and Let's Players and YouTubers, or even streamers in general. So I really don't think there'd be too much of a problem with getting the game to cycle around if you put it all in one place and translate it. And I think it'd be really good too for that, so that players could actually experience the full story of Hikaru with Metal Beetle and Head Scissors in Medarot 1, the story of Ikki and Metabi in Medarots 2 through 4, Koishimaru and Crotogil in Medarot 5, and so on and so forth. I would love to see all those translated officially. And I still do have plans and intent to want to play Medarot 3 translated on stream. I just haven't coordinated for it yet and figured it out. I just have too much other stuff going on to really work into that. So I'm just going to put down as an answer. Would be a very good starting place if that's happened. And I'll work my way through that. I remember seeing the Playmo models for the sites. Yes, Kotobukiya did make a model kit for Cross Messiah. That's where he got a lot of really popular popularity there. There are 4 of them, yes. There is Cross Messiah, Cross Z, there is Kreutz Bison, and then there is currently Black Cruz. Cross Second Meta change. Classics Plus comes. I hope they add the card games in the remake of 1 parts. I would be interested to see if they did that, because the parts collection games were actually not included in Classics Plus, if I recall correctly. So I don't. Well, I mean, if they port a localized version of Classics Plus 1-to-1, I don't think we'll see the parts collections in them. But it'd be really interesting if they did, since it was mostly just an opportunity for extra parts that you couldn't actually get in the base game, but had code in the game. So certain models that you could only get or could only see once or twice, you could actually farm for in parts collection and then migrate over. But honestly, it's hard telling. I don't think they include the parts collection in the classics, so it'd be really nice if they did that. Girls Mission was the last new game. Yes, that is correct. It was the last new game that was released with new characters, new cast. That was not mobile. Let me follow this on here. There we go. There we go. It was the last new game that was launched. That is the correct statement for it. Another chance we'll get Classics Plus translated. It's honestly, I think it's hard telling, like I said. Like, on one hand, I think it'd be a really good place to start because they have it all in one place. They have the engine, they have all the code and all the text in one place, all at once. So all they'd have to really do is focus on translating it and typesetting it to clean it, much like the translators in PRB have been doing with the fan translations. So, in my opinion, if I were in charge of Imagineer's localization department, I would throw that idea their way first, because it would take the least amount of money and investment, and all they really have to do is just, work with the platform, sign an agreement with the platform to launch it on, so that players could, buy it and pick it up. So that's just my take on it. Let me see. Just catching up here on everything. On all the mainline games connected in the story, I'm gonna say yes, because the stories do technically build on each other. Actually, I'm gonna put that on here too. Mainline games connected, because that is a very good question to ask. The short answer is yes, they are. Short answer, yes, because the story does build on because the story does build on itself chronologically. So Medarot 1, like I said, is the story of Hikaru, which is the first Medarot first game's protagonist. In Medarot 2, we are introduced to Hikaru later as the owner of part-time worker of the convenience store, who also is the Phantom Retort. And the entire story of 2 through 4 is Ikki and Metabi. Medarot 5 kind of stands apart on its own. It's more like a Meanwhile Elsewhere kind of thing, more than a attached linked story. Medarot Navi also is the same case, where it's kind of like a Meanwhile Elsewhere kind of thing, but the post-game of Medarot Navi does include the original Ikki and crew as in post-game as optional fights, so you can actually go back and recruit them if you defeat them in row battle. So that's my take on it. Is the short answer is yes. Chronologically, you do kind of see a development, but there are a handful of games that are kind of like, okay, where does this one link and where does it kind of fall in place? It's kind of hard telling. Medarot S kind of threw a timeline out the window because it included everybody all at once. So not exactly something to take as possible canon, but that was kind of expected from the beginning. Let me see here. We're just going to have to cope with Medarot 10 using S models, since it would be highly expensive. I honestly expect that they would use the models from S anyway, because, again, if they have them, why not? They're already very good quality models. They have all the animations, all the textures, all the meshes. They have it all. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to not use it. If they're not piggybacking off the Japanese server, hard telling. Let me see. What they could do is that they are doing with the Mega Man games to release them on upgraded platforms and upgrade where possible. So, if you're alluding to something kind of like what Rockman X Dive does with the offline version, that actually has come up in conversation a lot too. We would like to see, if they ever do announce an end of service or end of life for Meta S, that they release an offline version, even if they strip all the collab models out. I would love to see them do that and make an offline version, say on Steam or something, or on their own launcher, or however they choose to do it, where players could still enjoy it and play the game and theoretically collect it all. Now, what are they gonna do if they announce an end of life for all the players that have been playing since day one? It's kind of hard telling. I think that's gonna be a really bittersweet moment, and I'm gonna really hope and pray that they have something in line behind it. They can say, well, we are ending Meta S, but here's something else that we're releasing at the same time. But again, we want to kind of take what they say with as few assumptions as possible, because if they don't give us information, we kind of tend to overthink. And I think that's kind of what blew out Medarot Day last year with the release of Survivor, because Survivor has been fairly successful, but its announcement was kind of shaky because they overhyped it without tapering the expectation. And we kind of were also at fault because we overhyped with too little to go on. But that's my personal take. Let me see. Looking through fondest memory from the RPG game. This memory. Honestly, I'm gonna stretch that question out to just any game in general, and I'm gonna stick mostly with Medarot 9 for that one, just because it's the most recent game I played. But I did manage to get dual working on Citra fairly recently, like within the last year or so. So I've been having a lot of fun with that too, and kind of trying to optimize my controls. I'd love to possibly even do something like that, like actually get Citra up and running and play something like Duel or 9 or something on stream. But I don't know. I'll have to look into that and figure it out and make some plans. That's the best thing I can really say with that is I'll just say too many to count, because my fondest memories are kind of everywhere with it. Let me see. Collector said, "Have we seen international release of Collections Plus? Don't think we'll be so lucky. Look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Let me see here. Do you feel this series aged well? Did Okay, so I think it did, much like you do, John. John Nullgems. I think it did, because there aren't really a lot of things in it that are particularly dated, or things that are like old references, or things that would kind of go over people's heads. I think it's definitely something that people can pick up, put down, and go back to with a very good sense of nostalgia, with very little, for lack of a better term, chronological context involved. And they've done a very good job of trying to keep it up to date, or try to keep it with the times to a degree with the later titles as well. So I think it aged really well, and especially given the fact that they're still designing all these brand new models for the series between Medabots Survivor and Medarot S. It's kind of hard telling what they're going to do with it going forward, what the big what the big plan is for it going forward, because it's still ongoing. It's not a dead series like what people think. It's been around for a while. It's continually been going around. It's far from dead, much like people think, much against what people think. So I'm just gonna say yes, it did, very much so. See, I don't know if we'll ever get a Medarot 10. The idea we could potentially see it localized is wild. Like I said, I'd be really stoked to see a localized Medarot 10 if they ever do decide to release it globally and the global expansion goes very, very well. The best thing I can suggest for that is to just support Imagineer in their endeavors and just keep reaching out to them, keep making comments, leave reviews for them, comment on the official streams every Tuesday when they go live, and just kind of tell them, that the Western community's here, we've been supporting them. That's the best suggestion I can give to y'all, is to just let them know that we're here, and just keep reminding them of that. That's my best suggestion. Commit to learning. Let's see. I really should commit to learning. I need to play more of these games, LMAO. Well, you came to the right place. If you look anywhere on my channel, you will see basically everything you need to know about Medabots Survivor and Medarot S. I am the guy that broke it all down, so you don't have to go far. So if you want to learn how to play, you came to the right place. And worst comes to worst, you can also join the Project Rising Beetle Discord and ask around on there. We can definitely get you set up on that front as well. Especially because I did buy Classics Plus. We're playing a JP version. We made the older Icky working as a convenience store. Yes, that is Medarot DS. Also Medarot 7 to a point. A lot of people argue that technically they are a They are a not exactly a 6 and 7 like a consecutive title, but they're more. But 7 was more like a retelling, a remake of DS, but with a little bit more polish. So that's my take on it. But yes, it does technically follow that chronological line, like the last question. Whole age discussion is meaningless. What's important is the games are fun. Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. As long as the games are fun and people are enjoying it, see all these fancy new designs and coming up with new ones, I think that is absolutely the bottom line. Period. What happened with the other mobile game, the Medarot? Honestly, that is a good question. Like, I remember it. I remember actually having that on my old iPhone years and years ago. And I played that thing religiously and just keeping up to date with it and just kind of having fun with it. I remember it. I absolutely do. I don't know what happened to it, honestly. It just kind of disappeared, and when I tried looking for it again, I could never see it. So, I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't. Meta what? So, yeah, so basically it is a Japanese term. You know, Japanese to EN term that never quite got translated properly. But essentially what we know in EN as Meta Watch was translated initially as Medarot. So, same term, tomato. So if you hear Medarot floating around, that is exactly what they're talking about. So, very simple term, not too difficult to pick up on, and essentially it's if you see this is what it's alluding to kind of thing. So, not really anything to focus on. I'm going to throw another question here that was added. Fairly early on in the stream that was mentioned. Will they keep the localized names for Medabots Survivor? This was mentioned early on. I'm going to touch base on it again, just to kind of curb the discussion back toward the Survivor overview. Given that Nelvana is not in charge that we know of, actually no, that they're not, because I think the company was dissolved. Given that they're not in charge of the localization and they have no hands in it whatsoever, I'm gonna err on the answer of no, and it's gonna be Imagineer mostly just translating the names as is from Japanese to English. So most of the names that I've used and that you'll see on my channel will, for the most part, still be pretty accurate. I think the only real differences that you'll probably see are mostly just spelling changes or clarifications. So in the case like with the trailer, as you noticed, they changed Elphas, E-L-P-H-A-S, to Elephas, E-L-E-P-H-A-S, which to me honestly is harmless. I don't think it's going to change anything. We're still going to call it Elphasoma because that is his name. But Elephas is more accurate since it is a stronger allusion to the elephant beetle that he's based off of. So aside from minor spelling changes like that, I really don't think the names are going to be changed all too much. As far as the localized names that we know, I'm going to err on the assumption of no, we're not going to be seeing those either. So, for instance, Robo Emperor will still be called Beastmaster, Mega Emperor will still be called God Emperor, and they're going to keep the JP names going forward, just properly translated. So yeah, to my assumption is Totalizer is just going to be a name that we know endearingly, and if you see him, cool, you can call him that, but there's a good chance, and I won't know until we actually see it, there's a good chance they probably will just keep the name as Keith Turtle, which is his actual translated name, and not the localized name of Totalizer. So, like I said, they could possibly use the EN names and just stick the JP going forward, but I don't know. We will have to find out when the English version of Survivor does launch, and people start collecting models and kind of see that. But I highly expect that we probably will be seeing trailers on it as well in the near future to kind of answer a lot of these questions for us. So we will have to see. That's the best play. That's the best way I could explain it. We will have to see. But my answer for it is assume no. Let me see. It was one of my favorites, especially how it gave the rampaging Evangelion vibe. I mean, yeah, that was kind of the whole vibe with him in general. But to me personally, having used the JP names for so long, Beastmaster just feels much more fitting, especially given that that Beastmaster is just much more specific to you know, to the feral, the bestial part of the design as a weapon of mass destruction. But that's just me. Will they start releasing model kits in the West? I hope so. I hope they release more Kotobukiya kits. After the Fancy Ale kit came out and they kind of stopped doing them, I would like to see more kits. I don't really know why they stopped, because they had such a good thing going on there with all these different models, and especially with them all being compatible with each other too. I just would like to see that, and I hope they release more stuff. I really would like to see them release more stuff with other brands. So, for instance, instead of Kotobukiya, or even alongside Kotobukiya, they could partner with Bandai, as an example, and maybe release specialized kits or smaller modular toys, like the 112 Chokado Gachapon toys. But I don't know. I really can't say. But whatever the answer is, I hope we see more model kits. I would like to see them. Let me see. Is Hormoren still in main management of Medarot? I don't think he's in charge of the main operations anymore. I think he's still. I think they still consult him with certain directions, or they reach out to him and ask for feedback and consult with him on directions to take. And they absolutely do reach out to him to weigh in with new designs every now and then too. The 7 Lucky Gods, for instance, in Meta S as example, are his work. They were all his designs. He actually held on to for like 20 years before he had a chance to use them. So, without speaking with Imagineer themselves and asking personally, I'm gonna say no. I don't think Hormoren is in charge of management, but he keeps enough of a weight in consultation that he still does kind of have a say, based on what they choose to ask him. But that is strictly from my opinion, my thoughts on it as a Western fan that's not privy to a lot of those discussions. So I can't really give you an answer on that one. Beast Emperor sounds cool. Actually, that is a pretty good name. If they chose to hybridize the names or compromise with the EN and the JP names, Beast Emperor I think would be a really good compromise, and I would be 100% okay with that. But like I said, we'll have to see. And that's really all I can say about it. Is if they choose to use the localized names that we knew before, or if they choose to go with something brand new, it's hard telling. I can't really give you an answer one way or another on that until we actually see more information and see more trailers going forward. But I'm going to give you guys just a little bit more time to figure out some other questions to ask. Peppercat actually was her official name, believe it or not, so that is absolutely not going anywhere. I can tell you that right off the bat. So that name is absolutely staying. But I will give you guys a few more moments to put together any other questions in the chat if you guys had anything else you wanted to ask. What is my favorite Medarot? Oof. Oh boy, that's a loaded question. That is a good question. There's just far too many to name, honestly. What is my favorite and why? I know this was asked in my original AMA, but I'm going to say it here again. Because my answer, unfortunately, changes based on when you ask me. There's just so many different models that I use regularly that I work with. Honestly, I like Kreutz Bison, which was the third Kabukiwa type released, and it was designed by Fujioka Kenki. I really like Kreutz Bison. I really like Manjiro. I always have a soft place for Manjiro as the stag starter for Meta 9. I really did like him. Digoi Charge, yes, I want Digoi Charge back. I want to see him. I want to see him get a model in new art. I want to see him back. I need my steam locomotive type. That's why I've designed so many locomotive types and railroad types for Ori Meta Contest, because there are none. But no, I want to see him back as well. He sucks at Medarot S. Belzelga's a good choice. Yeah, I can respect Belzelga. My whole take with Belzelga is essentially you can absolutely make him work, but you have to build around him. So if you plan to use Belzelga as your DPS, you're going to want to incorporate at least one healer as an ally that can not only restore his broken arms more consistently than he can, but also do it in a way that keeps his HP high. And with one healer, you can do it fairly consistently and with fairly good performance, but it takes just a little bit of juggling, and then you just have to use your slot 3 for a defender just to help keep him alive. So you can absolutely make a sacrifice type like Belzelga work. You just have to take a couple more you just have to compensate a little bit more in a couple other areas. So it's not impossible. You can do it, but it does take a little bit of investment to do so. Let me see here. Favorite Medarot. I'll just say too many to name, because there are honestly too many. And I did see your comment on here as well, Gurkat. Where is it? Least favorite. No, Alba said it. Least favorite model. Least favorite Medarot. Okay, so. Oh boy. So this is going to be a very obvious question, and if you've seen my channel longer than 6 months, you will know exactly which model I hate, and I cannot stand for the life of me, and that is Charge Seeds. I cannot stand Charge Seeds. It is my least favorite, because unlike a handful of other models in the game that you can possibly make work with the right team builds, there is unfortunately nothing you can do with Charge Seeds. He is literally there to be a potted plant on your windowsill. There is nothing you can do with him. He's got one combat attack that does not have any extra effects to it. Both his arms are the exact same thing, which makes it extremely redundant. And his multi-legs are one of the worst in the game, minus Beast Duster, excluding Beast Duster. There's just not a lot you can do with him, unfortunately. And I wish there was more you can do, but unfortunately there just isn't. There just really isn't a lot of redemption for him, unfortunately. So, like I said, if you've known me longer than 6 months, you'll know that I have a tone in my voice when it comes to Charge Seeds for that very reason. Let me see here. Just looking at just catching up with stuff here as well. Cleo Battler also getting erased. Yeah. It will kind of suck seeing if Cleo Battler's name gets rewritten, but honestly, if you go back, if you look and find out that her translated name is Empress Petra, I don't know. I think that's a fair trade in my opinion. So I think it's I think that's fair to me anyway. I kind of like that one a little bit better. But let me see. Least favorites: Belzelga, Decoy Charge, Aim Flash is a good choice. Aim Flash is a good choice. I respect Aim Flash users. You actually see his head in competitive meta a lot, because it is a stupidly good one. Bok Choy. Dr. Study is potentially usable. He's not super handy, but at least he has stuff you can use. Kind of. He's not as redundant as Charge Seeds is, but because he's strictly support, he has a little bit more flexibility in where you can choose to use him. Charge Seeds, unfortunately, just does not have any redemption, unfortunately. He just doesn't. He just allows the team to go a little bit faster, but after he puts that first heater plant down, that's kind of it. And he gets like one extra head use, but that doesn't help him any. So, unfortunately, there's just really not a lot you can do with Charge Seeds. Dr. Study, at least, again, he does raise accuracy and success, so as a support type and always having bid support, he at least has a little bit of ground he can make up for. To me, anyway. Why Medarot only released one game for the PlayStation? Medarot are released for PlayStation. Honestly, I have no clue. I have no clue whatsoever. That most likely would be a question for any of the developers or even for Producer-san, and see if maybe he might have an answer for you as to why they probably had a one-time deal with Sony, or if they had something going on. I don't know. I legitimately do not have an answer for you. I'd like to see a remake of Medarot R, possibly, but I have no clue. I wish I had an answer. So, legitimately, no clue whatsoever. I wish I had an answer for you, though. Let me see. Attack optic. Having one arm to boost your speed's one thing, but both with limited head uses. Yes, yes. That is the short answer to why I hate charge seeds. If you want to mix his parts up and use heater plants somewhere, okay, fine. But him by himself, no. There's just no... Unfortunately, no redemption for the potted plant. There just is not. And actually, his predecessor probably has more use than he does, in my opinion. But that's just me. Let me see. To include parts collection. Which game type do you like the most? Axe, RPG, or duel? Favorite game type. Honestly, I've always been a sucker for RPG, so that's going to be a really simple answer for me. I've always liked the tried and true method, and I think Medarot had that down really, really well. I mean, they haven't changed the method in 28 years, with the exception of like a very small handful of games. Now, honestly, I would love to see a remake of Navi. I would love to see a remake of Navi or another game that uses tactical RPG. I would love to see it, because I thought it was really unique how they chose to approach it. Friends of mine that are really heavy into the Fire Emblem series or any other tactical RPG games, that is their cup of tea. And I would love to see them try that, try that again. But they only used it once. And it kind of sucks, because a lot of us want to see it used again. So, wink wink, nudge nudge to any game devs out there. If you want to make a Medarot fan game and you want to use the tactical RPG aspect, hit me up. I will I will do sprite work for you, and we can figure something out. We'll figure it out. I will help you with it. If there's enough momentum to do it, of course. But no, I would love to help out with that if someone's willing to do it. I would love to. But no, RPG has always been the tried and true. I would love to see them. I've always enjoyed playing it, but I would love to see the tactical RPG style come back. The action RPGs, much like with Duel and Girls Mission, is fun. I can get my enjoyment out of it every here and there, but not exactly something that I'd pick up immediately. So that's just me and my personal take, though. Let me see. Favorite, least favorite battle type. Honestly, I can't really tell you, because having broken down every single model in Medarot S over 6 years, well, 5 years technically for my anniversary, this coming June, I kind of have come to develop an appreciation for all of them, because every style, every attack style has its value and its place, and if you know what you're doing, you can absolutely make anything work. Now, there's a handful of things that need a little bit more of an investment, team building wise, than others, but I can come to appreciate anything. So, especially even when they buffed trap damage way back and kind of brought that back into the limelight, you could play a whole team with passive aggression and traps, and granted, it would take you a while, but theoretically, you could still do it. You could still technically make it work in most any battle except competitive, which is something that I liked about it. So, I can't really tell you a favorite or least favorite battle type, because I'm technically of the mindset where I could build a team setting theoretically with any of them. Now, one thing that I will share with Susanoo is I have the knowledge, but my PvP competitive skill is definitely not there. I can hold my own in it fairly well, I guess, in a meta league if I need to, but PvP just really isn't really my cup of tea. So you won't see me in the competitive ring too terribly often, and if you do, probably a good chance that I'll probably end up giving you the win, since my strategy is there, but my execution is kind of hit and miss. But again, it's on a case-by-case basis. Let me see. Broke, don't fix it. What model do you think deserved more attention? Awesome design, but terrible stats. Honestly, it would have been really nice to see them do something with Komadog, which was the event reward, the in-person event reward if you attended the physical in-person Medarot Club event the week of Medarot Day. I would have really liked to see them do something more with him. Now, granted, Stat Cleanse and Double Beam was kind of his original kit, so I'll cut him some slack, but with all the stuff that we have available, they really could have done more with him. And it was, I'm not going to say disappointing, but they could have done more, in my opinion. So I really hated grading him as low as I did. But, that's just me. Let me see. Fire Emblem fan would love to play Navi. RPG, but Duel is fun. Feels like what you pictured as a kid. Yes, that is exactly what the big charm of Duel and Girls Mission was, is it played pretty much like what you imagined a row battle would look like on the field. But the difference is, you were controlling them, not giving them orders, and that's what made it so much fun. So I can appreciate it. I definitely can appreciate it, it just isn't my personal genre of choice. I heard Shingano Medarot killed the series for a while, is that true? Yes. It's, go back down here. Medarot. The answer is yes, it did. Mostly because its art style was just very, very strange. And if you take one look at the box art, I don't need to elaborate. But essentially, what it was an attempt to remake Medarot 1, but with the Game Boy Advance engine. And essentially just kind of show off its power and its specs. But the art style is very... the art style is a lot to digest. It's a lot to digest, I'll put it that way. And albeit the 3D models that they use for Beat Servo and Duo Kaiser look really nice, I'll give it that. But the original art for them, for the early Game Boy Advance, it's a little bit to digest, I'll put it that way. It did for a time. And between the release of Shingano Medarot and Medarot DS in 2010, there was about a 7 to 8 year period that there was just nothing for the series touched on whatsoever. So yeah, for a short time it did nuke the series for a bit, and then they took Medarot DS as a way to kind of remake it and rebuild the series from the ground up into what we know today. So yes, it was it was a very unique art style. That's the nice way of putting it. It was a very unique art style. Let me see here. Looking along the lines. All these types of games, types of battle royale like Marvel. You know what? That would actually be really cool. Now, a lot of people like to give games like Fortnite or Marvel Rivals the crap because those are like super toxic in the competitive. But honestly, if they made a royale version of a Medarot game that played like Duel, but had the same combat style, gameplay style, online gaming of say like Marvel Rivals, I would be tempted to try it. I can't say that I would be playing it constantly, but I would be very tempted to try it and see how it goes. I would 100% be okay with that. I'm not really one for Royale type games, but I'd be 100% open to trying it. I would absolutely try it. So I absolutely would. Gundam Versus, but with Medarot would be awesome. Yes. I actually had a really cool idea. I'd like to see a, and hear me out, let me cook on this one, guys. I would love to see a Dynasty Warriors type Medarot game. Not exactly with the same parts mixing feature that you'd expect of a standard game, but I would love to see a Dynasty Warrior style. I would love to see that. I think that'd be really cool to see and like really explore the combative capabilities of Medarot on the field, because we only see them battling against each other 1v1 in teams of up to 3 or 5 on 5, but we never actually see cross combat aside from, say, Medarot Duel or Girls Mission. I would love to see a warrior style game. I would love to see something like that. But like I said, that's just my take. I would love to see it. If anyone does develop it, keep me posted. I will absolutely shout it from the rooftops. Let me see. Shingano Medarot. Shingano Designer appears in the 20th anniversary section of the official website. Yes. Let me see. Naoki Kitazawa was the name. Yes. Sort of Robo Emperor is in Shingata of S. Yes, that was Duo Kaiser. It was essentially just a Shingata version of God Emperor. And currently, now that Duo Kaiser is in now that she is in Meta S, it is also the only female weapon type in the entirety of that weapon series. So really interesting, honestly, a really interesting design choice. But yes, we do currently have 3 representative Shingata Medarot in Meta S. I don't think they're going to add any more, because I think those 3 are enough. But that's just my take on it, honestly. Let me see. Have a Dynasty-style game cover the war flashback from the anime. Yes! that actually was another topic on it, covering the 10 Days of Darkness as the premise for a warrior-style game. I'd 100% be okay with that. I would love to see that, honestly. That was actually my original thought with it, too, when that discussion came out. Talking all this good stuff about Duel and Girls Mission. Yeah, like I said, Duel and Girls Mission had a really good engine going, and I think if they refine it, they could absolutely make something work with it. But it just needs a little bit of a little bit of refining. Do I have a Robodan suit for my character? No, I do not. Nor do I plan to. As silly as I think it is as an endearing villain for the series, no, I don't think I would look very good in gaudy rubber. So, no, I do not. Let me see. But no, honestly, I think that was really good for an AMA. I think we covered a lot of different topics with the overview of Meta Survivor and just the series as a whole, and just some personal thoughts of my own with it. But the short answer I want to give, and I want to kind of wrap up with this with the AMA, is while seeing Medabots used again is absolutely huge news. It is the Call of Paul Revere we've been waiting on for 20 years, and we are all stoked on it. Now, granted, a lot of people are kind of mixed on the idea of seeing it as a mobile game or as a Survivor-type clone. I get it, but it's a start, and I'm excited to see what's going to come out of it going forward, since they have talked about a global release and a global overseas expansion in the past. So I'm hoping that this is just going to be the beginning and we're going to see more from it, but I do also want to forewarn you guys to curb your expectations. Now, just because we're seeing this does not mean, and I'm going to emphasize this, does not mean that we are going to be seeing a Medarot 10 or a Meta S localized. It does not say that. It does not mean that. But essentially, keep your expectations low, but your hopes high. So, as you play Meta Survivor, as you interact with the official streams, whenever they go about, if you choose to hang out with the Metatubers on the channel with Shushu Pop, Leah Lila, or Cheerful Bunny, adorable ladies, by the way. We absolutely love our Metatubers, and support them. Just be respectful, be supportive of them, offer feedback where you can, but just keep gently reminding them that we are here and we want to see more. That's the best advice I can give you. Is we'll take Meta Survivor. We're going to enjoy. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it, and just kind of see where it goes from there. Especially given that the lawsuit is only freshly settled, so I want to say they're still probably working on trying to let the dust settle properly and just kind of gauge reactions before they actually invest in anything proper. But there was no starting stream during Medarot Day. Yeah, they kind of went straight to the point with it, which was nice. Like, it was nice, but you have to remember with that as well, they did have a 2-hour time slot to fill, so they really can't waste too much time with an idle or a wait. But that's just me, really. That's just my take on it. But again, don't overhype your expectations for what this could mean, but this is the beginning. This is a start we've been waiting for 20 years, and that alone is more than enough that we can be thankful for, in my opinion. So I'm very excited for it. I'm hoping that this does mean more, much like the rest of you do, but let's just not overhype it until we actually get direct confirmation from Imagineer first. That is the paramount thing to keep in mind. One other note to mention, I did say it earlier in the stream as well, I will say it again, I will absolutely be streaming the EN version of Medabots Survivor, on my channel. I will keep my JP account on my mobile device just as a personal thing, so that'll just be for me more than anything else, and I will just keep that as my own personal account. But the EN account I will play on stream will be mostly for a chill chat stream, just hanging out with people and playing around. Maybe I'll have some guests with me as we talk about it and have some fun. I'm gonna try to rope some friends of mine to playing it as well, and I can guest on their channels or something and talk about it maybe, and keep you guys posted. But yes, I am absolutely going to be streaming Medabots Survivor. I don't know how often I will be, but no, the plan is I absolutely am going to. So you guys can tune in and hang out with me for, say, 30 minutes or an hour or something, and just kind of see where it goes. And yeah, just kind of try it out, play it around, just as a chill, just chatting thing, and see where it goes. But I'm going to go ahead and fade that out for now as we move back in here. But otherwise, that basically covers everything I wanted to talk about in the Medabots Survivor coverage, in the first look and the first reveal, with seeing the trailer and the pre-registrations that officially go up. So I would like to take a minute and say thank you to everybody that stopped in and said hello and hung out with me for the last couple hours, and had some great discussion, had lots of good questions. I want to take a minute to thank you guys as well for all that. I'm just as excited as you guys are for Medabots Survivor. Friendly reminder, the game is opening up global on February 28th, 2026. So a little over 2.5 months of a wait. Not terrible, honestly. It could be a whole lot worse, and I'm stoked for it. I'm really excited for that. But if you would like to know more, of course, you can also follow us on Facebook or the Medarot News Network page, where I do keep all up to date on all of my stuff there as well. So any news, any updates, fan art, or anywhere else, the Facebook community, if that's where your platform of choice is, you can go hang out with us there. The Facebook community is currently over 51,000 members. So if people were questioning if the Medabots fandom is alive, I think that is more than enough proof that it absolutely is, in my honest opinion. You can also join us on Discord, again, the link provided, so if you want to keep up to date with us and stay up to date with any news, updates, projects, personal, community stuff, or even just reach out and say hello to me with any questions, join us in the Discord, ask around, we can get you in touch and welcome you in, get you in touch with the right people. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter, Discord, or Blue Sky at Isagami Kura. So again, any questions, feedback, comments, if you'd like to possibly collaborate with me and either have guest on the workshop floor, or me stop in on your channel if you're a content creator yourself, I would love to coordinate something like that. Friendly reminder, I am going to toot my own horn here a little bit. I am also open for commission. I do art, I do 3D models. Currently my VTube 64 models are kind of a really big hot topic item right now. So if you have any questions, there is a link to my card on most of my socials, so you can find it there and figure it out, see what you like, and reach out to me. But no, honestly, I had a lot of fun with you guys in the last couple hours. I'm really stoked to see if there's gonna be any new updates and follow up about Medabots Survivor and the first official return of Metsubi and friends back to the West, which is the entire reason Project Rising Beetle was founded to begin with. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this means that we're gonna be seeing a huge resurgence in the Discord server with lots of activity popping up and talking about it. But we'll have to see, honestly. But once again, thank you so much for everybody that stopped on in. If you have any questions, I'm always just a shout away on any of the socials. Like I said, just let me know why you're contacting me, so I don't think it's a bot or something. If you have any questions on that, or want to learn how to play Meta Survivor on JP or Meta S on JP, you can always ask or join the Discord. That's literally why it's there. But as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping in, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.